podcast, Appetite for Distortion. It is Brando, episode 100. Wait, I have to get this correct, Mark, because you corrected me. You
198. 198.
198. Exactly. 198. And as right off the bat, this is another Golden Robot Records featured episode. So you got to see me if you want. And I am growing back the beard slowly but surely. I'm not a mustache guy, but
I wish you'd hurry
I'm in quarantine. I got bored.
I wish you'd hurry up. Like, seriously.
So does my girlfriend.
That's all the time we have now, Brando.
I mean,
what I mean.
Thinking? You actually started looking like Adam Sandler in Uncut Gem.
Is that? I don't know if that's good or bad.
You should watch it and then you tell me what you think.
I know what Adam Sandler looks like. You know, what is he going to do to himself? Anyway, before we get completely diverted already, so Mark Alexander-Erber from the CEO from Golden Robot Records, and back with us also from Golden Robot, Kristin Tully. Hey, Kristin, how are you?
Having me.
I like the Fleetwood Mac shirt. I finally got to see them last year when concerts were still a thing at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, that's a great show. I worked for Mick for a little while when he did his solo stuff, but I've never seen the whole band together, and I would love to.
It was great. It was great, and I don't know why they.
Did they have Neil Flynn playing?
Yeah, I was about to say Neil Flynn, and that was
Finn.
Sorry,
Come on, mate.
I'm forgetting the because he sang as well, Neil. So it's like he played his hits, and so did Fleetwood Mac, and it was just like it was.
They played Crowded House stuff.
Yeah.
Great, fantastic.
Yeah, so it was just like an awesome experience. So the other voices you hear, as like, it's kind of like a Brady Bunch setup right now. Garry Beers, hey Gary, of course the famed bassist from INXS, and now part of when we're going to talk about the new band AshenMoon. Hey Gary, it's really nice to meet you.
Hey Brandon, nice to meet you too, man. Thank you for having me.
Likewise. And the voice that I've been listening to, other than my own lately, has been Toby Rand. I want to hear what else, other than Dust Bowl and Mosquito, you have AshenMoon has out right now. So Toby, welcome. You're a pretty accomplished vocalist, and I can't wait to learn more about you.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, thanks for having us, mate. Looking forward to catching up all things Guns N' Roses. It's going to be fun.
That as well, because you have GNR stories. Because you're one of your previous lives, you have opened up for Slash, right?
Yeah, we did. I think it was around 2010. We were introduced to Slash through one of my old managers. Did a lot of the sponsorship work for Slash. Used to book, like appearances, and was kind of like his right hand woman in a way. And so we kind of got introduced to him, and we ended up doing a bunch of North American dates and European and Australian dates. So that was over about 2 years. It was pretty awesome.
And that was with Juke Kartel, right?
Yeah, that was with my old Aussie band, and we had like about a 5 or 7 year run over here in the States or something like that, maybe 8 years, which was pretty awesome to be a bunch of Aussies and kind of spread our kind of virginity, if you like, coming over to America, growing up on the Sunset Strip, going just kind of in awe of the whole place when it was still firing as it was back in 2006, So, yeah.
Sure. And we'll talk more about that because, of course, I want to talk about AshenMoon. But I will say before I forget to, I love your background of the Prince. Is that like a collector's plate? What is that?
That's one of the backup singers from Prince's band. The same manager looked after Prince as well, so I was in good hands. I used to steal shit,
Yeah, does he know that you've got it?
What's that?
Does he know that you've got the plate?
This was after this particular tambourine was at one of Prince's last shows at the Congo Room in LA Live downtown to about 1,000 people.
Wow.
And one of the backup band, we all went backstage. We didn't get to see. We saw him briefly, but one of the backup band donated this tambourine. So yeah.
Ironically, I actually have the same tambourine back in Australia in a box.
Yeah.
I don't know how I ended up with it, but I ended up with the exact same tambourine.
And there's the difference between the two of them. One has it on the wall, and one has it in a box in another country.
I don't know how to roll back in Australia.
I can't even imagine. Gary, you probably have too much stuff to hang on the walls. It's
I do. And I have a good Roses story too, when you're ready for that.
Well, for sure. But I like to tease my listeners a little bit. And I want to make sure, because at least right up front, because sometimes they're hyper nerdy about it. It's like, let's get to the Guns N' Roses stuff. Well, I like it to build a radio show. So I want to know how you and Toby started AshenMoon and what's going on there, because I know you signed with Golden Robot. So I would love to find out about the new project.
Yeah, well, Toby obviously was in the Rockstar Supernova experience, which was a year after we did the Rockstar INXS thing. But I didn't meet him through that. I actually went to a filming and saw him perform. I didn't meet him, but I met him at a party about three and a half years ago in very LA circumstances at a mutual friend's party. And the friend was like, Garry, get up and play with Toby. So I got up and played with Toby. And we became good mates, and I asked him to join the band. Like a fun side project band I had at the time. And then we decided to take it further.
That's cool. So how long has this project been in the works?
We met 3.5 years ago, but we started writing just probably a year and a half ago, maybe not even that. And we spent all together. Actually, this is my studio, so this is where we lived all last year making the record.
And then now you're in quarantine.
Yeah.
That you want to get out. That's how the world works.
24/7 now. I can't get out.
The truth is, Brandon, the truth is, the family's actually locked him down there. He actually can't get out of the studio at all.
Yeah.
They put food under the door.
Yeah, I'm more locked out, really.
Yeah, that's right. He's locked out, not locked out.
All right. Well, if you need me to contact the authorities, just tap your foot 3 times or something like that. If you need help,
call the police.
We'll call the police. Where did the name AshenMoon come from? I love that. I really do.
Well, the one thing we were doing was, like recording at Garry's backyard studio. And every time that we'd finish a session, it would normally go pretty late. So we'd start during the daytime and then we'd walk out, and the moon would just be sitting directly as we came into his backyard. Past all the statue of David and all the other things he has back there. And that was a joke, but anyway, it's a beautiful house. And the moon would just be. Are you getting me? All right, yeah.
No, I got you. That was sarcasm. I just screwed it up. So you're good. Keep going.
The moon would go there, and there was the last year when we had those huge fires. Was it the year or the year before? I can't remember. It might have been last year. The moon would just be blood red, and it actually looked like it was on fire. And we were all we're throwing around the idea of a band name with moon in it, and we're like, let's call it Ashmoon. And then we're like, but that could be Ashley Moon, or whatever. It could be someone's name. And then we just kind of, we have a love for the 70s, and obviously the word Ashen Lady was quite popular, and that word Ashen just seemed to go really well together. So that's kind of how we got it, because of our love for 70s music and the fact that the moon would just stare at us as soon as we finished a session.
I like that. See, I think that's such an underrated. Yeah, there are very famous bands with dumb names. I love the Beatles, but I mean, what are we doing? Even Dave Grohl says he hates the Foo Fighters, but it's one of the reasons why I like Guns N' Roses, the way INXS is spelled. Juke Kartel, the way that's spelled, the way that sounds. Like, those are cool names. AshenMoon. So that's, for me, that, maybe I'm weird, that goes along with everything. It's just the sound, the look, the name of the band. So
I think it's an important thing, and Toby really had a thing for that band name, and we had pages and pages and books full of other name suggestions that were all so bad. And we kept coming back to AshenMoon, and Toby's even doodling it down. And so I used to do graphic art, so I started drawing it out. So the logo you see is Toby's initial idea with my artwork. So, and then he's gone on to do the artwork with a graphic artist that he met through our social media. So it's a real homegrown little project.
Did you ever tell the story, and you could tell me just like, hey, look it up, kid. Did you ever tell the story of how the name INXS came about? Have you said that before?
Brando. We were discovered by Midnight Oil's then manager, and he had a whole vision of calling a band INXS. So we went with him with that idea, and then a week into the tour of a 3-week tour supporting Midnight Oil, he disappeared. He found God, disappeared. And, yeah. And so the tour finished and was sitting there going, do we go back to being INXS? I mean, who actually owns the name INXS? We go back to being the Farris Brothers, and then we decided to continue on as INXS.
And I want Kristin to say what you said off the air, because I want to know if you've even thought about it. Because
here now, no, I'm kidding. Okay, did anyone ever like notice it's like say, oh, NSYNC ripped you guys off later on? I mean, they took your logo.
They did. I mean, yeah. I'm actually more concerned about all the INXS cover bands ripping off our logo, blatantly ripping it off right now.
There's a few in Sydney that actually, you know what I love about a cover band. Let's talk about an INXS cover band. They actually come out dressed like you or dressed like Michael and the way he used to do things. They're actually a full-on copy band. It's unbelievable. They're doing really well.
I know. Yeah, I'm kind of jealous, I got to say. but it's flattering, but it's infuriating. Like they're getting more bold. They're using our INXS social media to advertise themselves.
Totally. So if a band is touring off of your music as a cover band, like there's like Get the Lead Out, all those bands, like they've actually become quite popular because everyone wants to hear. You can't hear Led Zeppelin, you can't hear INXS, so they go and watch these cover bands. But do you guys get a portion of that? Like they're playing big venues, amphitheaters. Like
we're always chasing them. Yeah,
someone does.
So they do owe us a lot of money. That's for sure.
It's crazy. I mean,
what you could actually do, what I believe you could do if you really wanted to go into it, you could get their tour schedule of everywhere they played, and then you could go in the back end and submit all their shows on behalf of INXS and say that they played out there. Would that work?
No, a better way.
A couple of days.
Gary and I could go to every show with a baseball bat.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, we'll just go there with Rocco and Moose.
Yeah.
Help find their checkbook.
Yeah, we'll go with a baseball bat and we'll collect the takings up, but we'll go after the show and collect the takings.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that we're talking about this because cover bands are huge, and you're right. There are some bands they just don't exist, and this is the only experience that you're going to have. I mean, here on Long Island, I mean, Big Shot, they sell out Mulcahy's, if that's a local reference anyone gets. It's like a big bar, and all they play is Billy Joel, but they have Billy's band play with them. So it's cool, but it's not Billy, but it's
guitar player ended up with that gig on Billy Joel because he was in that cover band.
Yeah.
Those things. It's cool. I love stories like that.
Yeah, and the guy from Journey. I mean,
Yeah, it's so weird. Anyway.
So I love those stories, but where I'm going to tie everything in is I once saw a Van Halen cover band open up for a Guns N' Roses cover band. And this was maybe 2002, 2003. So before both bands got, back together, air quote, if that works, the air quotes here. So I'm like, I'm never going to see David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen on stage. I'm never going to see Axl and Slash on stage ever. So I finally got to experience that recently. Garry, you got to see that at a time that I only wish I could have experienced, because I'm seeing a certainly, I don't want, more adult, polished Guns N' Roses. I didn't see the GNR, the lore of the so please, it was 1988, 87 that there was this giant festival that you guys were supposed to play.
Yeah, it was a show at Texas Stadium, and we headlined. Guns N' Roses were before us. Iggy Pop was before them, and Ziggy Marley was opening the show, and it was huge. It was sold out. And Texas Stadium. I mean, big open dome, a bit of light rain to make it really sweaty and messy. It was great. But Guns N' Roses, they tried to pull out of the gig for months and months because their album had gone to #1 in that time, and Axl especially did not want to go on before Michael Hutchence. And so they kind of insisted they do the show. They did the show. Axl chucked a huge wobbly, which he got very upset. And they did the show. The show was great. They played well. Then Axl ran off and he looked for something to smash. And my bass rig's all there, ready to roll on stage. And he looks at it, and he's got his microphone stand. He starts running towards it. And my bass tech is this rather large black guy. And he's like, He's standing there with eating his white cake going, no. And Axel went, other way. But we ended up hanging out all night. It was great. They ended up, especially Duff and Slash, real sweethearts, I got to say. Really nice guys. And Iggy Pop, we just hung out all night with Iggy Pop and Slash and Duff and INXS. So it was a really good night.
So there was no, I mean, how did you feel about that? Did you get the vibe, or did Axel say that I don't want to open for Michael or INXS? Like, did that rub you the wrong way, or did you get it? Like, I get it if they're number one. Like, what was your thought process?
Yeah, I get it. They were number one. They were the biggest. They were the biggest things in the world at that time, especially in America. So,
well, you've got to remember, Garry, and Garry won't say this, but he might say it, but I'll say it. The three biggest bands in the world in 1988, without any question, was U2 with the Joshua Tree, INXS with Kick, and Guns N' Roses with Appetite for Destruction. They were the three biggest bands in the world, and that's it. Nothing else came close.
Was there any sort of I mean, if you understood it and you see an Axel, and I guess how we sometimes visualize him in the stereotypical angry Axel, but then you're partying at night. So I mean, that's just, I don't know. Like, how did it seem to go from one extreme to the other? Was it just, you kind of just always looked at it like, whatever. Once the gig is over, we'll just hang out and be friends?
Well, he wasn't at the party. I think the rest of the band were, because they were a bit embarrassed by his actions. But Axel's Axel. I mean, we toured all through South America 1 or 2 weeks behind Guns N' Roses, playing the same gigantic outdoor festivals. And the stories were always that Axel would not go on stage until he was ready, which is usually 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And they had an accountant with a briefcase full of money to pay off all the fines that they would get, which is usually $200,000 or $300,000 per show, just until he was ready. I've since then I've hung out with his the tour manager from the time, and he said, look, he's a good guy. He just really cares about his vocal, and he really works to get his vocal right. So I'll take that as the truth. But I could not imagine being in a band with that, waiting to go on stage for like 4 hours, just so he's right, and then finishing the gig at dawn. I mean, that's just not fun to me. I mean, but having said that, I have the utmost admiration for the band. They made some great music. Slash is a great guitar player and a wonderful guy. Duff's an amazing bass player, great guy.
You think Michael should be mentioned more when we talk about, because it's fun that these lists that we talk about, top singers, top rock singers, Axel's mentioned, Freddie Mercury's mentioned, he's up there. Do you feel that he
100%?
And I understand that there's a regional thing too, because you could be like, okay, this band, I hear that from other countries, when listeners from other countries don't feel the way Americans feel about Aerosmith. It's just different. That's why Guns N' Roses is global. I've talked to fans from other countries feel that way. So INXS obviously crossed over all over. So it's not even just a regional. Even that being said, I just feel like as the years go by, I don't want his memory. Obviously, you don't either. None of us do. To get lost in the shuffle. Do you feel like he's under-mentioned at all when we talk about these all-time greats?
I do, in the fact that he's not mentioned as a great singer, a brilliant performer, and a really good guy. I think time is passing on, so we're getting over the fact he's being mentioned as a guy who died in a tragic way. I just think that tends to mar the perception of how good he was as a singer. And I think time will change that. I think the songs will always be around. Video, I mean, I'm just still discovering video of Michael performing that I hadn't even seen before, because obviously it was a very dark for me to look at Michael's old videos or what have you after the whole horrible thing unfolded. But now I'm starting to, because it's very cathartic for me to do AshenMoon and meet Toby and basically start all over again with a great Aussie singer. So I'm actually opening up to letting that seep back into my life, my existence with Michael and INXS. And I think Michael will get a whole different level of respect, because he's one of the most unique singers of all time. I mean, the timbre of his voice was very unique, you know, and in all honesty, he never missed a note, like ever, you know.
And I just feel
it's interesting,
Denmark.
Brandon. It's interesting because being in this industry and dealing with cats like Toby and other lead singers, and I think, you know, Toby's an absolute star. And one of the things that's missing at the moment is the truest essence of that rock star, you know, like Michael was, or like Axl was, and et cetera, et cetera. There's a real opening there at the moment for the next rock star. And there's a lot of people trying to get in there, but they don't. There's a lot of great bands. There's just not a lot of rock stars anymore.
This doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, yeah.
I think one of the things that I found working with Garry as well is that when we started playing together, obviously it was heavily INXS based because we were doing a lot of corporate shows, and then, you know, it's just so easy to put something like that together. You play at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and everyone, as soon as you start with New Sensation, you got everyone just ready to rock, you know, and from then on you have them in your hands. And one of the things that having to cover Michael's stuff, because, you know, I was a cover singer up until I was about 22, I guess, growing up in Australia, play 7 nights a week, make great money, party a lot.
Yeah.
But then take it professionally, and then you're not doing that. But one of getting back into covering INXS, which I hadn't done for 20 years or 15 years, having to learn Michael's stuff, going, holy crap, this guy is an unbelievable singer. And his pitch, hearing the live recordings, his pitch and the way that his voice sits above a normal registered voice, he put me to school, and I became a better singer in the last couple of years from just doing that alone. And
is there pressure on you?
And I love that.
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah, is there like you're standing out there in AshenMoon, okay, and can't wait to get you live again, but you're standing out there knowing that Garry's behind you, and does that put pressure, because he has worked for 20 years with one of the greatest lead singers of all time? Does that put a little bit of extra pressure on performance as well as vocal?
Or does that give you confidence, maybe, because Garry wants to work with you?
It gave me pressure at the start, because if I fumbled a word and I'd look around to try and cover my embarrassment, there would Garry be going, nah, mate, that wasn't the right word, was it? No, you know. And so, because he was with the guy that wrote the songs and you know, wrote the lyric, and sometimes I'd be a bit nervous when I first started, but now I just feel like it's my own. Like, if there's any way to say that INXS, the vocals have become my interpretation. I'm not trying to be anything. Yeah. I'm being myself through great music, and that's what I've learned with all the music that we do right now. And what we're going to find once we come out of this situation of quarantine is that the bands with authenticity and with truth behind their performance and their delivery and their lyrics and their content are the ones that are going to survive. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how I feel, just the approach with everything. That's why I think I may have said this, at least before in other podcasts. I'm obviously at home right now. You know, all my cats are in the closet or whatever, but I'm usually in the studio. And can I do a podcast from home? I finally just got this microphone, but there's a nice little doggy. Is that a real dog?
I'm in a roll at home. He's been asleep on my floor. This is Bowie. He's got one blue eye and one brown eye.
Oh,
he's very cute.
It's the third day in, but now that you said your cats are in the closet, he heard you when he woke up. So
you picked him up and he was all stiff. I thought he was a stuffed animal at first. It was so funny. But it's just, I've learned from, and it's probably the same thing that you've learned, putting a product out there that's authentic, people are going to respond to that. And that's why I can, just from the short conversation and all the research that I did leading up to it, this is a band I want to check out. So what was in the works before the world exploded, so to speak? Like, what was supposed to happen? Should you have been on tour right now? What's on hold with AshenMoon?
I was just editing. I'm editing down a music video right now, and so that's one of the things that's good about what's happening right now, is that we're able to spend time getting all that content together that we normally wouldn't have time to do. And I like being really hands-on with it. I'm teaching everyone else in the band, like that. If the more we get our hands in there, the more it becomes more like us. And I was just speaking with my manager, and he goes, man, you know what? Like, I feel really sad for you guys. And I said, well, mate, we're all not alone. So every single band's in the same boat. Right now, we would be rehearsing for a tour. We had an East Coast, a festival booked, and then we had a run of shows coming up in July. We had a bunch of corporate things that we would have just finished. I'm also in a musical, which is on the East Coast, and that got cancelled. So there's a whole bunch of things that we were doing. We're going to do another legacy show with an orchestra for based around INXS. That got unfortunately let go as well. So all these little things that we've been putting together have gone. So we've just gone back to what it's like being a new band, and that is, let's get everything together. Let's get all our content. Let's shoot some music videos, which we've shot this incredible music video for Dust Bowl, which we captured LA with, no traffic, no one in it. It's like literally become a Dust Bowl. And so we're going to do a world premiere of that in conjunction with Golden Robot in the next kind of couple of weeks. And just we set up a studio at Garry's place called Garry's Garage. Brilliant name. Who would have thought?
You got to say it right. Exactly. Just like you said, Garry's Garage.
Yeah. Or you could say Garry's Garage. You could say Garry's Garage.
Oh, you got to combine the words. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we just road tested the other day. It's going to be set up for live stream. So just live stream shows, man. I think lots of quarantine videos. We just recorded some acoustic versions for the record. We did a couple of INXS songs. One of Garry's favorite songs, The Stairs. We did a beautiful cover of that. So we're going to just have great content coming out that we probably normally wouldn't have the time to do. So we're looking at the positive at the moment.
You guys are a prime example of how to use quarantine time in a creative and productive way, quite honestly, because everybody sits at home and goes, I'm bored. It's like, what do you mean you're bored? Like, you guys are like, you couldn't do more. And you're like, can we do this? How about this? And I love that about you guys, because you're so into just the creative aspect of it, being an artist and coming up with ideas and even just thinking out of the box instead of sitting there and complaining.
Exactly.
We're in the long haul. We really feel this is our new band. So it's myself, Toby, and Jimmy are the nucleus of this band. And Jimmy's just sitting at home. He got really quarantined because he had some minor back surgery. So he was really stuck at home, like in his apartment, for 2 or 3 weeks. So he just did all his acoustic tracks of AshenMoon tracks, and we've been building it up at home. Toby's been singing, doing percussion. I've been doing bass and programming stuff here, and it's just been really cathartic, I got to say, because, and finally we feel, we've all been tested. We all feel comfortable to get together. So we spent, the weekend setting up the garage. So now we're a garage band. I love it. I mean, we're so keen to get everything out there and get our music out there.
It's where we started, and it's where we are right now. So what I'm excited about is what all the records that are coming out, and what's like, even Rolling Stones just came out with a new song, which is basically, quarantine driven, and it's a banger. It's awesome. I'm excited to hear what all these legacy acts are going to put out. I'm excited to hear what all the new music's going to be like, because people actually aren't just going in a studio to bang out like a 2-minute, whatever it is. It's going to be a well thought out, hopefully constructed record that we'll look back and go, wow, what a classic record that was. And hopefully ours is like one of those. So, yeah.
Well, I believe it will. And to tie, everything together, the theme of this show, that's what fans want. Because it was just yesterday, I believe, Guns N' Roses officially canceled or postponed the North American tour. Yeah. That was the next concert I was going to go to. We all want new music. That Slash is now back in the band. And I'm actually glad, Mark, that the meeting was a little bit late. I'm glad, and I'm also angry, not at you, because tonight Guns N' Roses premiered their a live show on YouTube that everyone's doing, just like Toby, you were just talking about, Garry, you're talking about, you're providing all this content. We're not getting it as GNR fans. That's why I have a podcast, I guess. So they premiered. Guess how long it was? It wasn't a full concert. They made a big deal about this. They're going to show. It's like anyone just threw out a number or what's that, Kristin?
5 minutes.
15. It was 15 minutes. They played 3 songs. It was like from a show in Utah from last year, and that's it. So I'm hoping they're working on new music. So
Well, we know they are.
we'll see. I don't know anything. I know nothing.
From what I know, from what I hear from the members that are involved with Golden Robot, I hear that there's new music, and that's not a secret. They're working on new music. And I asked the best question the other day. You know the question I asked? Does it sound like the old stuff? Does it sound like the new stuff? And we heard it sound like the old stuff. So that's good. I'll take that.
Well, as all GNR fans say, until it's in my hand.
Yeah.
But at least on Spotify, I can click your songs already. Well, let's talk about a more positive time. That was my segue into just talking about GNR again. Toby, can you just tell me about anything that sticks out in your mind with the experience opening up for Slash and that band?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was lucky enough to be in when Slash was doing his solo records, you know, and he had initially he started up with a band called Slash and Friends. So it was Frankie Perez on vocals, who's an incredible singer, Jason Bonham on drums, Ozzy Osbourne on vocals, Ronnie Wood on rhythm, Fergie on vocals, Teddy, the keyboard player, used to play with Guns N' Roses, was back there.
He's been on the show.
Great guy. So when we were doing some House of Blues shows here with that, and then there was this huge budget to play in Norway at the Court Festival in 2009, I think it was, and so somehow Juke Kartel got on the bill, and we all flew over, and we got to open up for that Slash and Friends show, and it was, you know, backstage, you know, I got to hang out with Ronnie Wood briefly. You know, I think I was 12, 13 years older than his girlfriend. So he was like 67 and his girlfriend was 19. And I was just looking around.
Nice.
This is surreal. And I remember Slash coming up to us before, because we became pretty close with them. We used to have barbecues at the house, and, you know, you'd have Paris Hilton, who lived across the road. She'd come over with her pet pig all the time, and just really random stuff. But Slash came up before the show in Norway, and no one could find Ronnie Wood. And they better not have fucking done it again. And we're like, what? And he goes, he's not drinking again, is he? And so Slash goes, if you see him, tell him to come our way, because everyone's, you know, flipping out. Anyway, so the show started without Ronnie. We see Ronnie come from the back. He's got a bottle of vodka in his hand, hands it over to the stage tech, walks up the side of the stage, gets someone to put the strap around his shoulder, and then fucking slays for an hour and a half. The best guitaring you've seen, you know, and it was just like, at the end, everyone was just laughing and just going, thank fuck, you know. But it was one of the coolest things, because we're just like watching it all go down, like this new band from Australia going, what is going on? And it was just the coolest thing, you know. We had, you know, Fergie in our dressing room. My bass player decided to start a game of who can eat the strawberry the sexiest. And so that was a fun game to play.
Good tactic.
Just like really fun stuff. And Slash was, when we started with him, you know, he'd been sober, and he was incredibly switched on and very business orientated. And there was no fucking around. He wouldn't let you into his circle if you were going to be a fuck up and ruin your opportunity. And so luckily we were in the same mindset. We just secured a record deal over here, and our record label said, listen, you got opportunity here. It's up to you guys to blow it or not. Go over to his house for barbecues, and, you know, we just treat it like it was a respect thing. And he saw that, and he would invite us downstairs to show us, you know, his new material for his Slash records with Miles Kennedy singing on it. And I was just, and then we got to play shows with Miles Kennedy when Miles Kennedy joined the Conspirators, and we did an Australian tour, and just watching the backstage way that they went around their business, Miles Kennedy's warm-ups, Slash's warm-ups, you know, they would literally lock themselves away for an hour and a half, warm everything up, and it was just a pro show. And the best lesson that I've learned in my musical career was doing shows like that, you know, opening up for those superstars. So I didn't see anything that was really debaucherous, just apart from the people that were like just sucking the energy away from him, you know, who thought I'm cool because I'm with Slash or whatever. But
I don't even care about those stories. The ones you're telling are great. I mean, you must feel to work with, you know, that to be in that environment, and now to be in a band with Garry, you know, you really have learned. I mean, you must be constantly picking brains and just constantly learning, and it never ends.
It is, and a lot of the feedback, like a lot of people, I mean, I've been doing music for a while, and sometimes you do lose your identity in this industry. I can speak on behalf of 98% of every artist, I believe, because sometimes you're pushed to do something that doesn't feel uniquely you, but finally, I really do, after all these years, the record that I've done with Garry is 100% what I want to do with it. There was no like, oh, I'm not sure if I should take that turn. I basically, with Garry, produced myself, and Garry allowed me to co-produce the record with him. And we didn't allow anyone into the family that wasn't believed in the project and didn't see our direction. And that's one of the reasons why we're sitting on this call with Mark and Kristin, is because when Golden Robot picked up the phone, we had to tell them, you know, what do you like about this? And they said all the right things, which is it's all about the music, and it's about authenticity and hard work, you know, then the fun comes.
How did the writing process go? Who wrote the majority of the music, and what's some of the lyrical content we can expect?
It was, each song was different. I mean, we all had songs on various formats from our past. I had 3 bits of music that I presented to INXS that were, one, we ran out of time on one record, one was too heavy, one was, you know, just for various reasons. And I still have them on my computer hard drive. So Toby heard those and just turned them into something amazing, like, you know, like a whole rebirth of those bits. And Toby had some stuff that, I thought was amazing too. And then a lot of it we just sat here and wrote. I mean, there'd be a bass riff, and then Toby would grab a guitar and just start writing a whole song around it. And Jimmy would come in and do his thing.
That's what I think one of the first 2 songs are exactly the right 2 songs that describe the writing process. Dust Bowl was a synth pad that I used, that I had sitting in my on my Logic program, and it just sounded like INXS. It sounded like Garry had to put a bass line on it, and he did, and it was just, here it comes. And then Mosquito, Garry had that doo-dum dum ba-da-da-dum, that riff with that annoying thing, that buzz. I was like, you know what? That's going to lock into people's heads. I like that. I like that annoying thing. It sounds like a mosquito, you know. And so that's how we kind of married the first 2 songs. And I think it's a great way to kick off our record, because they both came from both our different backgrounds, and then we met in the middle. So yeah.
Mosquito has like a little bit of a country like hint to it. Am I right with that?
It's kind of got a real swampy feel to it, like
like real country, like real country.
Hence the name, Brandon. Hence the name, Mosquito.
Yeah, I didn't put that together, but you're right. But it does. It feels like a swampy blues song, you know, like from, you know, down south in America. So, everything. We keep saying the word organic and passion project, but it really was. I mean, we just, like kids, we spent all our waking hours in the studio, and then we go inside and we'd eat like the old days, around the family table with my kids and my family and my mother-in-law, and we come back out and we just really put everything into it. And then if a song wasn't working, we'd start again on that song. And there's no record company per se breathing down our necks. There's no deadlines. There's no budget, because it was all done here. I was engineering it, and predominantly it was me and Toby just sitting here, just nutting out, fleshing out what you hear as a record.
But, you know, it's interesting, Brandon, because working with the boys for the last few months, and that same youthful, can I use that word? That same youthful energy with all that Garry's done and all that Toby's done, from the few stories you just heard then, they've approached this in a very youthful manner, as in it's their first, they've got all this experience, but it's like their first band again. It's quite exciting, because, you know, we're talking all the time on texts or emails, or I've spoken to Toby a couple of times now on the mobile and on the cell phone. So it's almost like it's not a rebirth or a start again. It's just a new band, and it's and they've approached it as a new band. And, you know, we're tweaking things, whether it's a color of a logo or we're checking Spotify streams. You know, I jump up every morning and you know, and we've got quite a few bands that we look after, but I'm particularly interested in AshenMoon, and I'm following it personally and getting involved. And I've watched Dust Bowl this morning just creep forward over Mosquito. Just in a, you know, I don't know if you've seen that, Toby or Garry, but it's and I'm
That's my one.
Yeah. Its streams are going up only slightly, but you can see now that the Dust Bowl's starting to do a little bit better. But you know, it's like they've got this really fresh youthful. I'm saying youthful, but you know, like 17-year-olds that have got a new band sort of approach, but with experience. It's really, really cool to watch and be part of.
That is the real gel for especially the three of us, Jimmy, myself, and Toby, is that we love music, and we say in the promo, you know, the bio, that we're trying to give back to the artists that made us love music in the first place, and that's the truth. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't love playing and writing and recording music. I mean, and Toby's the same, and Toby's put his heart and soul in the lyrics for this record. Jimmy didn't play in a band for like 15 years after his last band broke up. He just didn't want to do it again. We finally lured him back in, and he's playing his heart out. So you just got, we are like kids. I mean, we're like, you know, kids in a lolly shop. I mean, we got a studio, we're together, we're mates. And we've got, and we knew we were onto something, because as soon as we started writing, our harshest critics, you know, my wife, my kids, all loved it. Yeah. And the guys who've been living here, you know, like basically, you know, part of my family for most of last year. And you know, you're onto something when your mates, your family all love each other, your loved ones all love each other. And it really, I think it comes across in the music, and it is like a whole new beginning for us, because for me, for INXS, it was a 6-piece band with a manager with his opinion. Andrew and Michael were the main writers, and my problem was that we had two of the best writers in the world in my band. So I've been building this up all my songwriting career to this moment, you know. And for me, it's really hands-on for me. You know, I engineered it, we produced it together, me and Toby. You know, it's predominantly my writing and Toby's writing, and it just really just grew into something that it kind of took us over, you know.
I can't wait to hear the rest of it, and obviously I can't wait, like everyone else, not for concerts. I want to see you live. I want to feel the energy I'm feeling right now. I want to see that on stage. So
Gary's garage, yeah.
Absolutely.
You
got to figure out the right fonts to combine Garry and Garage into Garryage. Sounds like I'm having a stroke.
Gary's Gare. Gary's Gare. There you go.
Garry,
Let's go on the road with. Let's go on the road with Guns N' Roses then. How about that? We'll do 15-minute shows. We'll do that.
I mean, it's just because, like, again, you guys are so accessible, and I know, you know, my favorite band is what it is, and it's fun to do a podcast about it, whatever. My heart's not really like that upset over it, but still, you know, she's having dance parties, Dave Matthews dance parties every Wednesday. I'm not a fan, but you guys are giving your fan stuff. I want to be given things that I don't have to pay for all the time or whatever. So it's just it's great that you guys are so accessible. Say that again, Toby.
One thing that what I got to say about GNR was I went to when they reformed a few years back in Vegas at the T-Mobile Center, because I missed the Troubadour show because the tickets just went, you know, through. Was it the Troubadour? I think it was the Troubadour. So we got tickets for Vegas, and so me, my manager, and my buddy Bryce, we all flew out there, and we caught, you know, their big homecoming, you know, on the main stage. Alice in Chains opened up with Willem Duvall, who I think is just ridiculously amazing. We saw Alice in Chains, and we were like, oh. And when Guns N' Roses came out, mate, they played for 2.5 hours, and Axl sung 3 nights in a row, and I saw him on the other one. He sung fantastic. It was incredible because obviously he had a lot of experience doing the AC/DC stuff, and he had to keep his chops. But mate, he was a pro. He was happy. He was smiling. His arm around Slash. Duff was happy. Duff always looks like a stud. You know, the whole thing was like a well-oiled ridiculous machine. And these guys are like, they could easily just give up and not be passionate about music and live comfortably for the rest of their lives, but they look like they wanted to be there. And that's exactly the same energy that Garry's talking about and that everyone should be talking about. And that's why I think that when this is all over, bands should just want to fire up and get out there and crush it. So let's see.
Well said. Well said. And I've enjoyed the concerts that I've gone to, and I was also lucky enough to see Axl with AC/DC at Madison
Did you
Square
really?
Garden. Oh, that might be my favorite show ever because
Really?
it was just like pure rasp for 2 hours, and Angus. I mean, he's this old guy. He's sweating, but he's just rocking like he since day one.
And I was happy when I saw interview with the guys where they said that Axl turned up and he really wanted to play "Touch Too Much," which they'd never played.
Yeah.
And it's probably my favorite AC/DC song, and I got a whole new respect for Axl because that's his favorite AC/DC song, or the one he really wanted to sing. And on a side note, AC/DC played at my school dance, so what chance did I have to not be in rock and roll?
I was gonna ask, since Axl asked them to play "Touch Too Much," I was gonna ask Toby, did you ask any INXS? Like, what's your favorite INXS song? But I think the more important story right now is AC/DC playing your. Wait, what? They played your high school graduation? What are you gonna say?
We had a local school. We had a local dance. It was called the Forestville Bop, the Forry Bop, and they played it. So I got to see them when I was probably 16, and they were set up on it. It was a little basketball. What do you call it? Arena.
Core.
Core. Really tiny. Yeah, and there's probably, I don't know, 150 kids there, and on the floor, and no schoolboy outfits. They had the twin stack Marshalls, and I was standing right in front of Malcolm. Then I moved over and stand in front of Angus, and they were just wearing like Miller Western shirts and desert boots and Amco flares, and they just turn around every song and just turn up and they're so short, they just reached the knobs of their twin stack Marshalls. And they got so loud that my pants are flapping. And it was incredible. And then about 3 days later, they were a last-minute addition to like a 4-band gig at the Horden Pavilion, which at the time was our big gig. I saw Queen there and Status Quo and Supertramp and whatever, Black Sabbath.
Whatever, as one does.
Yeah, whatever. But they were a last-minute addition, and in those couple of days, Angus, I think the story was that one of the roadies' wives knitted the schoolboy outfit for him. So in that 2 days, he went from just looking like a regular guy to being Angus and leaping around the stage, doing the Chuck Berry thing, basically completely. In the 2 days between, I saw him at my local dance and I saw him opening up for all these big bands in Australia. He became the Angus we know now. It was actually unbelievable to watch because I'm thinking, it's the same band, AC/DC. I remember that name. And they just
again, I'm trying to process all this.
And don't forget, Brandon. Don't forget that when Gunners toured, it was this tour here actually. When Gunners toured Australia, because we've got Rose Tattoo on the label. When they toured Australia, I think I was at the Brisbane show because Rose Tattoo, Wolf Mother, and Rose Tattoo opened up. And Angry Anderson, the singer of Rose Tattoo, came back out during the set and sung Bad Boys. Nice Boys. Nice Boys.
Yeah.
I was just watching Bad Boys with Will Smith. Played Nice Boys because Nice Boys was on the first EP. And he did a duet with so to speak, with Axl. And then at some other stage, I'll try and find the photo in a minute, my phone. Some other stage, Angus came out and played with them a few songs during that night.
He's been playing with them forever.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So like I said, it was amazing. But that got me thinking, Garry, because you just mentioned that show and you just nonchalantly saying, "Oh, I saw Queen." And do you have a favorite show that sticks out? It could be one of your own that in the middle of the night you still think about the show. Good, bad, funny. You know, is there one above all the others?
I think obviously, if you ask pretty much any of the guys from INXS, that our own personal favourite show is Wembley Stadium, where selling out Wembley Stadium for an Aussie band is phenomenal, because England, especially the press, they really hate Australians, and we went through all that for years, and then finally we had #1 singles, and then we sold out Wembley Stadium. But before that, we supported Queen at Wembley Stadium in, I think it was 86, 85. And we were the last minute addition, because there was 3 nights. The band that was open the first 2 nights decided, in a really stupid move, the girl singer decided to throw back some of the tomatoes and fruit and veggies that were thrown on stage to get them off stage. And they got pelted off stage, never to be seen again. So we're like, yeah, we'll do it. And we got up there and just made sure we didn't throw any food back on the stage, back off the stage. And we went down well. We're sort of getting over playing the gig, and then Freddie wanders in his full stage gear with his microphone stand and just says, that was wonderful, loved it. And then we got invited to tour Europe with him and the UK. So and enjoy the most amazing parties and dinner extravaganzas you've ever seen, because that band knew how to throw a really classy party and a really classy dinner engagement. So they were all class. Queen were the most amazing guys to be around.
You did Live Aid though, didn't you?
We did we were broadcast from the Entertainment Centre in Sydney.
Yeah. So there you go, Brandon. That's 2 Live Aid people in 2 days I brought to your show.
I know. Look at you. Thank you. If I was making any money, Mark, I would, tip you.
There's that photo. Can you see that photo?
I do. Oh, okay. There you go. There's Slash with
Angus. And Angry.
Yeah.
Angry Anderson. Okay.
Slash, Duff, Richard, and Jagger, my son at that point. So that was that. Look how big I look. My arm looks massive.
I know.
That's why I was like, is that you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
You also look like you have horns.
You look like Hellboy.
28th of September. Oh no, that's when I put it up. I don't know when it was from. It must have been 2016.
Yeah, I think that's about when they went back out. Yeah.
That's where I met Dizzy, and that's how we ended up doing the record deal for his album. And I met Frank on that tour too.
See, Garry, all these, connections, I always use the phrase the 6 degrees of GNR bacon instead of Kevin Bacon. As much as I love GNR, I want to have a well-rounded show.
I've met Kevin Bacon too, so there you go.
Footloose.
No,
Let's get Kevin Bacon on the show.
He was the host on SNL when we played SNL. So yeah,
that's right.
It's my 6
Oh,
degrees.
wow. Yeah. I miss when they played the old SNLs on Comedy Central. But anyway, I digress. I kept you guys long enough, Toby. I want to ask one last question. What's your favorite INXS song to sing?
That's the tough one. I mean, the ones that feel really good to me, the one that I think that secured the gig for me with Garry was singing "Never Tear Us Apart." I mean, it's a classic. It's the one that it's the big ballad. But then having to Garry's like some of like the one thing or the love and having to do songs that I hadn't done before. I really love doing "Listen Like Thieves," and then recording "Stairs." The Stairs is that's the one that when you see the footage of Wembley when Michael pretty much introduces this is a new one called "The Stairs," and no one really knows it, but by the end of the song everyone's connected. I think that one is my new old favorite. But if we continue to do some recording of some classic INXS, I'm sure we'll open up the whole vault and pick some obscure ones and twist them around, and I look forward to
Awesome.
it, mate. Yeah.
So much to look forward to.
And
Kristin, Mark, if you have anything else, I mean,
Brandon, I was just going to ask Garry, wasn't when he announced "The Stairs" was just when that acid that he took drop came in? Is that a true story?
He dropped like 5 or 6 E's at the beginning of the show, so I'm sure they were coming on by then. And the intro to "The Stairs" that INXS used to play was like a minute long, so I'm sure it really came on then. But but Toby's right. I mean, that I've always wanted to hear Toby sing that song because INXS didn't play it that much. I mean, we played it during that X tour, and at Wembley Stadium, and I always loved Michael's lyrics there. I mean, and I think the lyrics that he wrote then really apply to how we should feel about each other now. About we all live together. It reminds me of what New York's been going through.
Interesting.
So much to look forward to. I mean, just congratulations on what AshenMoon is now, and I can't wait to see what it continues to be. And let's just hope the world heals itself sooner rather than later, that you can get back on the road and perform. And when you're in New York, when I'm actually in the studio, I would love to have you in studio.
Great. Love to. We'll be there.
Awesome.
Thank you, Brando. Appreciate it, brother.
Yep.
Very exciting. Very exciting. When you got a band full of great people, you got great music that's authentic. And I can tell you, I've listened to the album. The production on the album is, don't be fooled by the tag home studio. It is unbelievable.
You would never know.
There's some serious coin was spent on the production of this album, and the songs are speaking for themselves. And when we start putting visuals with it, and then the boys can play live and really let this eagle stretch out, fuck, there's nothing holding these boys back. It's very exciting. And as a label, we feel very honoured to be involved with them.
Thank you, mate.
And I was honored to have you all here today. And Kristin, I always appreciate your facial expressions throughout.
At least I didn't get stuck on that again.
It's okay.
Thank you.
We've got mad respect for this guy. Kristin in particular. Kristin's been really great at bridging the Australia and American gap and keeping everything alive. And then, we just feel like this team's great. Get to meet people like yourself, Brando. I get to relive my stories of Slash, which I hadn't thought about for a couple of years or whatever. And I get to remember all those cool experiences that I have. And then it makes you want to fucking play more music, really, and write more. So it's great. I appreciate it.
Right on. Thank you all.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, boys. Thanks, Kristin. Thank you, Brandon.
Cheers.
Take
Peace
care.
out.
Thank you, Will.
Be safe.
Talk soon.
See ya.